They're not broke, but the clock is ticking.
Described as wildly unhappy with goals that have quietly diverged in ways that may be impossible to reconcile. But there is one thing left, one move that they could still do to turn this around.
So they've had to cut back, and Dan Wakeford has some other good numbers here too. He says the staff has been reduced from 16 full-time employees to just 5. He says they retain a chief of staff each, 1 foundation consultant.
Dan Wakeford spent 3 very intense weeks speaking with people connected to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's wider professional circle, and that detail really matters. Why? Because of the position he once held in their media world. As a former editor at People magazine, he was not just another reporter covering celebrity news. He was actually one of the key figures helping shape how their story was presented to the public on a very large scale. During that time, he worked on major, high-visibility coverage. This included stories that helped build early public opinions about Meghan's friendships and the support system around her. There were also widely discussed magazine features, where people close to Meghan were shown defending her, during a time when public attention on her was extremely intense. Later on, Dan Wakeford moved to US Weekly, where he continued working in a similar space within celebrity media. At that point, he was known as someone with strong access and close connections inside the industry. This gave him real influence in shaping public-facing narratives. But now, things have changed. He is no longer part of traditional media structures. Instead, he works independently, publishing through his own Substack called Celebrity Intelligence. And this shift is important. It means he is no longer under magazine control, no need for editorial approval, no need to match brand expectations. Now, his main focus is trust from his audience. And in this case, trust means one thing: putting accuracy first, even if it is not polished or comfortable. According to his reporting, based on conversations with 5 insiders over a 3-week period, the financial situation around Harry and Meghan is more complicated than many people believe. Now, let's look at the numbers. The Netflix deal, often publicly estimated at around $100 million, is described in his reporting as being closer to $60 million, once production costs and internal expenses are taken into account. Their Spotify deal, which was once rumored to be very large, is said to be around $5 million, especially after ending earlier than expected. Speaking fees, which reportedly once reached about $1 million per event, are now described as being closer to $50,000 per appearance. There are also references to inherited money. Funds connected to Princess Diana's estate are estimated at around $10 million, and contributions linked to the Queen Mother's estate are estimated at about $10.5 million. But according to the same reporting, a large portion of that money has already gone toward long-term expenses, including property costs and legal fees.
You don't show up at some random women's retreat with a smattering of people to collect a quick check, okay? You don't sell candles using your kids' royal names and titles unless you are broke. Her clout dwindled as people lost interest in what she and Harry had going on. She was going to move to the next generation. That was the final card she had to play, Archie and Lilibet.
Their home in Montecito, which is reported to be worth around $14 million, comes with ongoing financial pressure. This includes mortgage payments, maintenance costs, and other regular expenses. On top of that, annual security and legal costs are said to be in the millions. And when those are combined with lifestyle expenses, the total can grow even higher over time. The reporting suggests something important here: a very high yearly spending rate. And that means steady income is absolutely necessary to keep everything running. But the main takeaway from Dan Wakeford's reporting is not that everything is collapsing right now. It's about long-term pressure. It's about sustainability. Another major change mentioned is staffing. At one point, their household and professional team reportedly included around 16 full-time staff members. Now, that number is said to be closer to 5. That kind of reduction usually signals restructuring. It shows changes in how money is being managed and how resources are being used. The current team is described as small and focused, handling communication, administration, and public relations support. Overall, the picture is very clear. This is a high-cost public lifestyle, adjusting to changing income sources and fewer large deals. Instead of a large operation with multiple revenue streams, it now looks more like a compact setup, focused only on maintaining core activities and public presence. This is not a fast-growing team expanding into new opportunities. It is a smaller, more controlled system, trying to stay stable. And that usually points to cutbacks, adjustments, and pressure behind the scenes. And then, there is another detail that really stands out.
Because he says the reported $100 million Netflix deal was closer to $60 million once development costs, overheads, and delivery tranches are accounted for. Sources say the $20 million Spotify deal netted roughly $5 million after an early exit. And he says Spare, Harry's memoir, remains their most commercially successful project. That delivered an estimated $20 million in advance.
According to sources, Prince Harry is described as having limited awareness of everyday financial details. He grew up in an environment where most things were handled for him, and insiders say that mindset did not fully change later in life. Even after moving to California, those habits seem to have continued. When you look at things like high security costs, an expensive lifestyle in Montecito, and constant operational spending, it suggests a system where money is being used heavily without close personal budgeting involvement. So this is not just about income. It is about financial structure and how decisions are made. In contrast, Meghan Markle is described as being much more involved in the financial and business side. And that difference is where tension begins. According to insiders, it is not just small disagreements. It is a deeper difference in how both of them see the future. Their goals are no longer fully aligned. Multiple sources say there is growing frustration and a clear split in priorities. Prince Harry is described as wanting a quieter life, away from constant public attention. Some insiders say he misses parts of his earlier life, including family connections and a more private routine in the United Kingdom. In that version of the future, he would prefer a lower-profile lifestyle, focused on charity work, with less media exposure. A simpler life, with less noise. But Meghan Markle is described very differently. Sources say she is focused on visibility, media presence, and staying relevant in public life. One insider even compared it to wanting to remain in high-profile social circles, attending major events, and staying in the spotlight.
And he says Meghan has run ticketed fan events where attendees pay $3,000. He argues, though, neither is a sustainable business model, and that's because they're outgoing.
So the contrast is clear. One direction is about stepping back. The other is about staying visible. And according to the reporting, this difference is where friction starts to grow. There's also a key moment mentioned, related to financial control. Some sources say Meghan became more aware of how future decisions could be influenced by wider family systems and institutional structures. That realization is described as a turning point. It changed how long-term planning was viewed. However, it is important to note, not everyone agrees with this version. A source close to Meghan strongly disagrees and offers a completely different interpretation. Still, financial independence and control remain central themes in discussions about their future. Another point in the reporting focuses on a Netflix project, often described as a polo-themed series. According to insiders, the project has faced difficulties. There are concerns about development, delays, and whether it will even be released. The production model itself is also unusual. It depends on outside creators pitching ideas, with Harry and Meghan joining as executive producers. But one industry insider shared a different perspective. They said, attaching their names to projects no longer guarantees success like it once did. In fact, in some cases, it may even make partners more cautious, especially when considering risks and audience reaction.
Wants to be Lauren Sanchez. Living her best life at couture shows. She wants to be a princess who's invited to Chanel, but she's not.
This kind of shift is not easy to manage publicly. Then there are missed opportunities. Dan Wakeford's reporting mentions several projects that reached serious discussions, but eventually failed. One example is a role inspired by Jenna Lyons. It was seen as a stable and structured opportunity, but negotiations broke down. In other cases, disagreements over money and creative control became major problems. There was also a beauty-related business idea, which insiders say had strong commercial potential, but was never pursued. Across all these examples, a pattern becomes clear. Expectations were high, but real market response did not always match those expectations. That gap between how things were valued internally and how the industry saw them keeps showing up again and again. Recently, focus has shifted toward product launches. One example includes a candle product, linked to branding that references royal connections. The timing of that launch also caught attention, as it lined up with major royal events. Using royal-related language in marketing has become a widely discussed topic. Some experts believe this shows a move toward direct monetization, instead of relying on large deals. The strategy now appears to focus on smaller, more frequent product releases. Marketing methods have also changed. Reports describe outreach to influencers through direct emails and more informal campaigns. Some promotions are even timed around events like Mother's Day. This suggests a faster, more hands-on approach instead of traditional corporate partnerships.
Harry does not want the life he has right now. He misses his family, his friends, his former existence in the UK. He would, sources say, be content to downsize, move somewhere like Montana, live modestly, pursue charitable work on his own terms. He doesn't care about the appearance of wealth. He cares about the appearance of doing good work.
From a business point of view, this is a clear transition. In the beginning, the focus was on big deals. Major platforms like Netflix, large partnerships, and high-paying speaking events. That phase can be called the high-value deal era. But now, things look different. The current phase is more scattered. It includes smaller products, lifestyle items, and event-based offerings. This model depends on volume and regular output. So instead of a few big deals, there are now many smaller income streams. Some analysts say this approach is more demanding because it requires constant activity to stay financially stable. And looking ahead, many believe this is leading into a new phase altogether.
How on earth can you have just reported everything else, Dan Wakeford, and then even question whether they have marriage issues? I mean, they do not want the same thing.
This next phase is being described as a period where lifestyle changes may become necessary if income does not stabilize over time. It is not being framed as a sudden collapse, but rather as a slow and steady question of long-term sustainability. Another detail that has recently gained attention is the continued use of royal titles in both official settings and commercial spaces. On the official website of the British royal family, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are still listed with their titles. Those titles remain formally active. However, there have been long-standing understandings, often mentioned in media discussions, suggesting limits on how those titles should be used in commercial situations. This is where questions begin. Some commentators are now asking how exactly those boundaries are being interpreted, especially when it comes to marketing and branding. At the same time, there has been no clear, detailed public statement from the royal institution addressing these concerns directly. And because of that silence, the debate continues. Different media outlets, different analysts, all offering their own interpretations. Meanwhile, King Charles III is said to be taking a calm, steady approach as time moves forward. Attention is now shifting toward what comes next. This includes a possible summer return to the United Kingdom, continued involvement with the Invictus Games, and reports from outlets like the Daily Telegraph suggesting a renewed effort to reconnect with the British audience. The idea behind this is simple. Stronger visibility and closer connections could open new opportunities. But there is also a question. Does this strategy extend their financial stability, or does it simply bring existing challenges into clearer view even faster? According to Dan Wakeford's reporting, the situation is becoming more difficult, not just uncertain. Sources say Prince Harry continues to lean toward a quieter life, something more private, more grounded, and away from constant public attention. Meghan Markle, on the other hand, is still described as aiming for a highly visible lifestyle, one that keeps her present, active, and relevant in major public spaces. And that difference continues to grow. At the same time, financial and professional developments are building up. The Polar-related Netflix project is described as delayed, or possibly not moving forward at all. Speaking fees have dropped significantly compared to earlier years. Large income sources from the past are either reduced or already spent, and now new income depends more on smaller products and selective deals. In that context, recent product launches that include royal references have attracted attention because they suggest that the remaining public identity is still being used as a key business tool. There are also mentions in reporting of past efforts by senior royal family members to set boundaries around how titles and branding should be used. But according to commentators, those boundaries have not always been applied consistently. And that inconsistency is adding to the discussion. What makes everything more noticeable is how multiple signals across different areas are starting to align.
Okay, you don't show up at some random women's retreat with a smattering of people to collect a quick check, okay? You don't sell candles using your kids' royal names and titles unless you are broke, okay? I've been calling her Meghan Kardashian Markle now because this is like what the Kardashians would have done 20 years ago. Remember, like 20 years ago, the Kardashians would like promote cupcakes and promote food and promote any little
when they were
product
also
just to stick
leaking
their names
sex
on it.
tapes, by the way, Lee.
Financial reports, public opinion polls, event attendance, and media coverage. All of these are pointing in a similar direction. And that direction suggests reduced momentum compared to earlier years. For example, surveys like the Roy Morgan poll, showing 81% unchanged or negative sentiment, are often mentioned. At the same time, there have been reports of lower attendance at certain events and smaller participation in retreat-style gatherings. Speaking fees, once in the seven-figure range, have now dropped much lower. And when multiple projects begin to stall, especially in entertainment, it adds even more weight to the overall picture. Across all these examples, the message stays consistent. The commercial momentum is not what it used to be, and the current model is under pressure to maintain itself. The business strategy now includes a mix of media projects, lifestyle branding, retreats, and product launches. But instead of relying on a few major successes, it now depends on frequent output, again and again. Looking ahead, several possible paths are being discussed. One option is that Meghan Markle could return to acting. This could provide more stable income, but it would also mean a noticeable shift in public image and identity. The larger point being made is that this moment represents a transition. Either strategies will need to change, or expectations about scale and lifestyle may need to adjust over time. Another possibility involves Prince Harry. Sources say he may prefer a much quieter life, possibly in a place like Montana, where both living costs and public attention are significantly lower. But according to reports, Meghan does not share that vision. Her direction appears very different. And then there is a third option, the most difficult one: stepping away completely. No public presence, no branding, no regular media activity. But that also means giving up most of the income streams tied to their current life. Each of these paths comes with a trade-off: personal preference versus market reality. Sources say Prince Harry has shown interest in reconciliation and a more grounded lifestyle. But there is another side to this: the public tension, the media narratives. These have also played a role in attracting attention and driving commercial interest. If he steps away from that completely and rebuilds closer ties with Prince William and the royal institution, then that storyline changes. And with it, the level of media attention may change as well. On Meghan's side, the focus remains clear: visibility, branding, and strong public
Her clout
presence.
dwindled as people lost interest in what she and Harry had going on. She was going to move to the next generation. That was the final card she had to play: Archie and Lilibet. Now what is she doing? She's using their name and likeness and royal titles to sell a candle, and they're not even old enough to consent to being used in that way. You know what I'm saying?
However, the commercial outcomes described earlier, such as smaller retreat attendance and reduced speaking fees, do not fully match that level of ambition. Because of this, recent product launches are being viewed differently. Some commentators see them as efforts to strengthen what remains of the brand, often by using royal connections and identity references in marketing. Now, attention is turning toward results. How do these strategies perform? What is the public reaction? How does the media respond? And most importantly, will there be any official response from King Charles III or the royal institution? All of these factors could shape what happens next. The reporting also revisits another missed opportunity: a potential role with a fashion-focused company, such as J.Crew. This was described as a more structured and stable partnership. According to commentary, it could have provided steady income and a clear professional direction centered on fashion and lifestyle, without depending on royal branding. But instead, the chosen path moved more toward personal branding, high visibility, and higher-risk business strategies. That decision is now being compared with current outcomes, including lower event attendance, reduced speaking fees, and media projects that have slowed down or stopped. At the same time, expenses remain high. Security costs, legal fees, and previous spending from inherited funds all continue to add pressure. The overall financial picture shows a system that needs balance, but is finding it harder to maintain. The core idea here is simple. The current approach depends heavily on attention and visibility, but the results are becoming
Well,
less
it's interesting. I
predictable.
hope when Prince William gets in there, he can really shrink the size of the monarchy. Like, let's have the essential bare bones people, and that's the way to move forward. And I have such faith in Prince William and Catherine, the Princess of Wales, because they also really understand, I think, what needs to be done to modernize the monarchy and move further into the 21st century. So,
At one point, two very different stories were being discussed at the same time. One story focused on tradition, duty, and the long history of the royal institution. The other story focused on modern branding and building a commercial identity connected to royal association. For many observers, this contrast stood out the most. Two directions, moving side by side, but not fully aligned. What Dan Wakeford's reporting does is connect these public signals with broader patterns that were already being noticed. The numbers, event attendance, project outcomes, they are not being shown as isolated incidents. Instead, they form a consistent pattern. In the reporting, retreat attendance is described as lower than expected. Speaking fees are significantly reduced, and several major media projects are delayed or no longer moving forward. At the same time, sources point to personal differences. Prince Harry is described as unhappy with the current direction. He appears more interested in a quieter, less public life. Meghan Markle continues to focus on visibility, brand growth, and public-facing work. Meanwhile, the royal institution itself has not provided detailed public responses to these specific commercial issues. And because of that, much of the conversation is being shaped by media interpretation. King Charles III is described as continuing his responsibilities, while all of this
you
unfolds
guys
in the
left the royal
background.
family at the beginning of 2020. Now, 6 years later, you're doing a fake wannabe knockoff royal tour. You're still using your titles to dine out. Now you're using the kids' titles. The kids have barely been in the UK. I'm not even sure if Lilibet has been in the UK but one time.